Haas couldn't have hoped for a more dramatic turnaround of its Formula One fortunes under the new regulations in 2022. After scoring just 3 points in the previous 2 campaigns, it has already racked up 4 times that in the first 2 races, thanks to back-to-back top 10 finishes for Kevin Magnussen in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. That's put it 5th in the Constructors' Championship, with more points than it had scored in the preceding 49 races. And it might have been even better for Haas had Mick Schumacher had a more successful start to the season and added a few more points. But how did Haas achieve this remarkable reversal of fortunes? And can F1's smallest team really be expected to sustain this form for the rest of the season? Haas has been in such a lofty position in F1 before. In 2018, it actually finished 5th in the Constructors' Championship and had the 4th fastest car on average before it slumped to 9th the following season. That 2019 campaign was a difficult one, with a fundamental aerodynamic problem leading to the rear aero stalling in medium and fast corners. That meant it overworked the tyres, so even on weekends when it could qualify well, the cars plummeted in the race. Upgrades exacerbated this problem, and Haas ended the season having rolled back to its start of the season specification. It scored only 28 points. But the real problem started the following season when the COVID-19 pandemic hit. Haas ceased development of the car, going as far as abandoning the build of upgrades that had already been designed. And there were even doubts about its ongoing involvement in F1 until the new Concord agreement was finalised in August 2020. With new technical regulations coming in 2022, team principal Günther Steiner decided to focus the team's resources on this year's Haas VF22. Last year's car had the bare minimum of changes made to satisfy the modified floor and brake duct regulations, leading to a pointless season toiling at the back of the grid. But while the team struggled with an off-the-pace car and an all-rookie driver lineup of Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin, the essential work was going on with its technical team at base. That was headed up by technical director Simone Resta, who joined the team effectively on loan from Ferrari at the start of 2021. A new facility in Maranello, housing a design team bolstered by plenty of other recruits from Ferrari, was also created, meaning that less of the aerodynamic design work was done by Dallara, which does continue to work with Haas. Haas's technical partnership with Ferrari continues as well, with a supply of engine and gearbox as well as many transferable parts as possible, including the suspension. And despite some teams questioning how close the relationship is, something that has happened since Haas first came into F1 in 2016, it's all done within the regulations. Haas also had the advantage of more wind tunnel time and CFD items than any other team, except for Williams, thanks to F1's sliding scale for aero testing. And with the cost cap restricting the brute force spending advantage of F1's grandees, for once it had the potential to match the development or even outdevelop bigger teams. Haas made good use of the opportunity, producing the VF22. It's a car that caught the eye immediately with a level of aero detail, proving that the team had made good use of the time and investment. We'll get on to Haas's performance level and the chances of it sustaining that in a moment, but first, thanks for watching this video. If you're enjoying it, do hit the like button as that, and subscribing to our channel so you don't miss any of our F1 2022 coverage really does help the race. We've got plenty more planned this season, so hit the notifications bell so you know the moment there's something new to watch. Haas's results so far are testament to the success of its strategy, with Magnussen starting 7th and finishing 5th in the Bahrain season opener, then taking 9th from 10th on the grid in Saudi Arabia. Schumacher has had a difficult start to the season, finishing 11th in Bahrain after being punted into a spin on the first lap by Alpine driver Esteban Ocon and being unable to start in Saudi Arabia after a heavy crash in qualifying. While Haas did have the parts to repair the car, this accident, which cost between $500,000 and $1 million, according to the team's own initial estimate, kept Schumacher out of the race. But the car has proved the team's decision to sacrifice 2021 to hit the ground running this year was right. Haas is part of F1's ultra-congested midfield group. On average, it actually has only the 7th fastest car, although that's partly down to the fact Magnussen struggled a little for fitness and circuit familiarity in Saudi Arabia. The team is also confident that there is more to come. During pre-season testing, it completed the least mileage of all 10 teams and went into the Bahrain Grand Prix light on setup understanding. The team believes there's still plenty more to come in terms of getting the most out of the package it has got. But even with those limitations, it has a car that appears quick enough to be able to compete for Q3 and points finishes every weekend. The return of Magnussen has been a vital boost to its chances, not only representing a significant upgrade on Mazepin, but also pushing Schumacher to raise his game and emerge as a point-scoring driver, something he is likely to do in the near future. And if Haas can maintain its place at or near the front of F1's midfield, then there are even hopes it could take its first podium finish in F1, with Magnussen admitting that's what he's dreaming of. Last year, Haas's dream could only be to sneak into Q2 occasionally and perhaps fluke a point. This year, it has far grander ambitions, and it has the pace to achieve them. Given Haas threw more resources at the 2022 car earlier than others, it's reasonable to ask whether its lofty position is temporary. After all, it sacrificed 2021 to get a head start, so it is perhaps to be expected that it got the drop on its rivals. But that's a simplistic way to look at it. Other teams took a similar approach, albeit not one quite so extreme. But Haas is comfortably ahead of Williams and right there with Alfa Romeo, with both teams having prioritised 2022 development last year. The big question is whether it can keep development pace with its rivals. Steiner says he's confident there are more good results to come and points to the fact the team has yet to extract the maximum from its existing package. Haas also has upgrades in the pipeline. However, Steiner stressed that these packages must make a demonstrable difference to performance while maintaining a good car balance. Even the big teams must be more circumspect with upgrades this year given the cost cap, which is set at a baseline of $140 million. And while Steiner's words might sound like an excuse for not throwing parts at the car every weekend, there is logic in what he says. After all, last year Haas didn't upgrade the car at all, yet its performance didn't plummet, and it was still roughly as far off the pace at the end of the season as it was early on. The development rate will be higher this year because these are new regulations, but Haas does plan to improve the car and will make gains. It's now just a question of whether it can match or eclipse the development rate of its rivals. It also maintains the advantage of having more wind tunnel runs and CFD items available than any other team, and will do so until the allocations are reset based on Constructors' Championship position at the end of June. It has a car that's working well, with more performance to unlock, a lead driver in Magnussen who is getting back to full F1 sharpness, a second driver in Schumacher whose form will improve, and a technical team that is confident there is more performance being found in simulations back at base. It's going to be a long, hard season for Haas, and small performance swings either way could make the difference between it remaining a Q3 threat or struggling to get out of Q1. But as it showed in 2018, it's a team that can keep up with the development work of its bigger rivals. And after its transformative start to 2022, Haas needs to do so to re-establish itself for the long run as one of F1's strong midfield teams. But to write it off as a flash in the pan thanks to getting ahead of the development curve before its inevitable slump would be to underestimate a team that has consistently defied the odds since coming into F1.